I'm here with Lori, who had her son come and see me after he was bullied and had anxiety, and it's now completely gone. And she's going to share her story. All right, so Lori, can you tell me a little bit about what Darius was struggling with before he came to see me?
So Darius was struggling with anxiety. Anxiety from teachers in school, and then he didn't work up to their expectations. So they would say things to him in class, which in turn got kids in class to be mean to him. So he was really, holding all that in and struggling with making friends, or he was trying to make friends, but they didn't. They were like listening and mimicking what the teacher was saying to him. So he was having trouble expressing that and just holding all those feelings in.
I'm just blown away that that is actually happening.
Right.
That is so damaging. I can't believe that's happening in school. Ridiculed, rejected in front of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone else is throwing stones at you, pretty much.
Yeah. In this, it didn't happen in the other grades. It was his 5th grade year.
Okay.
And this particular teacher would get the kids to say things to him. He had a project to do at school, and he was struggling to tell me about the project.
Okay.
So I wrote an email to the teacher just explaining, as you know, he was out because of the anaphylactic reaction, and he's struggling to tell me about the project. If you can just give me some insight on it so I can help him. She took that email and put it up on her smart board for all the kids to read, and told the kids that did your mummies have to write to me and ask me about the project. And I didn't know about it until another parent called me.
When we're young, we don't know what's right and what's wrong. We pick up and we're so impressionable. So that impression was on him that you're slower. It really lowers their self-esteem tremendously. So then when we believe that we're not good enough, then we are going to attract friends that treat us without respect and kindness, because we just want love and attention. That's our greatest
Right.
desire, is to feel accepted and to feel loved. And we just want to be part of the group. We don't want to be different from everyone else. We just want to feel like you belong. So he saw you doing some hypnosis scripts. How did you find hypnosis scripts? And I know that you wanted him to see a therapist. He was closed to it. Why do you think he was closed to seeing a therapist?
I guess he didn't want to sit and talk with anybody.
Okay.
Yeah, he didn't want to talk. Right. I think he felt like, I can deal with this myself, and it didn't seem right to him, just talking. I mean, he would talk to me.
Yes.
But
yes.
he just didn't. He didn't want to.
And how did you find hypnosis?
For him or for myself?
For yourself.
For myself, I found it years ago.
Okay.
So, and it was something that I had a lot of anxiety.
Okay.
And, I found, I needed to work on things. And some of the things that I was doing, I didn't even realize was anxiety. And then, when I started working with anxiety, I was like, I did some of the things I did before was anxiety. So I started using scripts, and I started reading books, and I started doing everything and listened to the script for the 21 days, and I started seeing such positive changes.
Fantastic.
That, I was like, wow. And sometimes the changes were just so, I didn't even realize I had changed. Like it happened, and then I was doing things differently, and it was for the better. And it was like, wow.
So you were no longer trying and kind of consciously, okay, I have to remember to do this. It just started to naturally happen.
Started to naturally happen.
Fantastic. Can you give me some examples of the anxiety that you were struggling with, if you are comfortable sharing?
So I was, it was like at my job,
Okay.
when I was working for the Department of Children and Family. I had to work, I had to go into court,
Okay.
and I really struggled with that. I didn't want to speak in front of anybody, but it was part of my job. But I really didn't want to. I was good with paperwork, and I was good with things, but when it came to work with people, I didn't want any part of it. I just couldn't think of what to say. It just didn't really come natural to me, and I didn't want to do that part of the job.
Okay, so you were highly anxious about it. You didn't want to have that interaction, so it was affecting your job.
Mm-hmm.
So you would find somebody else to do this with you. And then what happened after you listened to the scripts?
I was able to just go into court and be able to go in and present to the judge whatever we had. And before you knew it, they were like asking me to be the one to go into court all the time. And it was like, oh, okay, I like this. I don't mind.
Yeah.
And then I was the one that they were coming to go in to set limits with parents, set boundaries with parents.
Oh,
and it was my whole role. And then before you know it, I was asked to take a supervisory position. And I think without the hypnosis and trying to work on all that anxiety, I was able to take a supervisory position and just do it. And then I had people working under me. And I was the youngest of 8 children. I was the baby.
Yes.
And I was very babied. And I always found that I latched onto one of my brothers and sisters and let them do the talking for me.
Right.
And, and I even found as an adult, as soon as they were around, I went and I would stand like right beside them.
Yes.
Like I was attached to them.
Yes.
And,
that's what you learned. That was so familiar. Somebody was always there to help me and talk for me.
Yes.
So and that's why you did that at your job, but then when it was affecting your job.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's fantastic. What would you say to anybody who is skeptical of the hypnosis?
I think they have to research, read about it,
yes,
and learn about it. Give it a try, and then
what made you so open to hypnosis? Because people are scared.
So I didn't want to talk to anybody, but I knew it was impacting me. So my oldest sister, she was using hypnotherapy for some of her clients who were giving birth.
Oh,
and I asked,
hypnobirthing.
Yes.
Yes.
So I asked her about it, and she explained it to me. So then I just started doing research, and I was like, "This makes sense.
Yes,
I need to try this." And then as I opened myself up to it, I was always more of a holistic person too. If it was like, I wanted to eat healthy. I wanted to do healthy things. So I was like, I wanted my brain to be healthy. And I wanted to be more assertive and do more things. Yes. So when I started doing that and reading anything I could, that's when I saw the changes. And I just knew that was right for me. And it made such an impact.
It's so important to do things on a holistic, natural level where we're not dependent on a drug.
Right.
Because what happens when you run out of the drug? And not be dependent on something exterior.
Exactly.
But have the control, have the power within yourself. And a lot of people with anxiety, they struggle with loss of power.
Yep.
They need to control everything, but then they're giving their control over to a drug.
Right.
And I have a client who came to me for fear of flying, but her whole entire family has anxiety, and her husband was on medication, or he's yet to come to see me, but they ran out of the medication last year, and he went ballistic. It really has a profound effect on your ability to cope and live when all of a sudden there's no more of that medication. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And so you wanted to be able to cope and overcome this at a natural level where you're dependent on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
How was Darius's anxiety impacting him before he saw me?
Yes. So I think with Darius, I think it affected he was trying to control things a lot.
Okay.
So I think his anxiety tried to control things, even control my other kids and do things. And I think he thought it was a caring thing to do, but it was more control. Because now that he's dealing with anxiety, he's not doing those same things. Now it is coming across as more of a loving big brother and not trying to control a lot of the household. And he's not also like trying to seek all the attention. I think he just feels more love of himself.
Yes.
That, he just is happier.
Yes.
And things that he would do before just all went away.
Yes, because before there was a feeling of lack of not having enough self-love, so I need it from everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you have more self-love and you don't need it from anyone else. And you recognize that if someone's not treating you well, that's not okay. Because you see yourself as worthy and lovable. And those are things that I definitely add into the recording, building that confidence. Yes. You have to build the confidence from the inside.
Yeah. And he was okay with slowly releasing friends that weren't treating him nice. And he was just like, no, I'm not going to them. They don't treat me nice.
I'm so proud of him.
And then he has now found a group of friends that, one by one, he's just been getting more, and they treat him nice, and and he treats them nice, and he's having fun, and he's okay with the other kids that he's not going towards.
That's so important for us to have healthy, thriving, good relationships. So depression is caused by saying harmful, negative things to yourself all day long, not doing something that you love, not finding your life purpose, which, of course, when you're a kid, you don't always know that, but not doing enough of what you love. And then number 3 is not connecting. Mm-hmm. Not connecting with other people. When we're bullied or there's fighting going on in school or disagreements or everybody's looking at me, I need to look over my shoulder if there was ever a fight. Never able to relax in school because that might happen again. I might be completely picked on again and called out, singled out. So then we want our kids to focus in school, and they can't because of all of the social stuff. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be people doing it to us outwardly, actively, but it's in our mind because we have the PTSD from what happened before.
Exactly.
And I'll use this example. 20-something years ago, I was in a fashion show for charity, but I walked down the walkway of the catwalk and I slid onto my butt almost into a table at the end of the catwalk. Mm-hmm. No one remembers that except for me.
Yeah.
So we relive these things. I don't remember it anymore. It doesn't bother me anymore. Right. I've gotten over that, but I use that as an example of we'll have these flashbacks of that time that I was so humiliated, and that is just as painful as having a broken arm or a broken leg. Exactly. The emotional pain is actually more tremendous because the arm heals. Talk therapy can be very beneficial. It can be great if you get to the root first. Mm-hmm. So it's like mowing the lawn, the grass grows back. Sessions, hypnotherapy sessions, RTT sessions, get to the root. We pull out what is in the subconscious mind, and it's not scary. We pull it out, we plant new seeds, and then you get a recording, and that is watering your garden, giving it sunlight, Can you describe what improvements you see now in Darius?
So definitely more confident, more
Yes.
self-esteem. He's now able to speak up for himself. I think before he wouldn't speak up because he figured like nobody's going to even listen to me. It's not going to change anything. So he now knows like if it's something that can be changed, it could be. We can talk about it and it can change. And I think that makes I think that makes him feel happier that he has a voice and he can voice it. Um, and and I don't think it's just with age. He was also afraid with his allergies to speak up, like if he needed Benadryl or he needed something, because kids in school would say things to him about having his food allergies.
Okay.
And now he has no trouble speaking up and saying, like I need to take some Benadryl and we had to talk about it. Like if you have life-saving medication, you have to be able to say,
up for yourself.
I need that.
Yes, without being afraid of judgment.
Yep.
The fear of judgment is real, and it will prevent a lot of kids from speaking up for themselves and voicing that they need something that could save their lives.
Yep.
So,
and now he has no problem when he goes out. He's like, no, I need to take my EpiPen with me. I need to have my Benadryl with me. And he doesn't care what anybody thinks. He's like, I need that for me.
Exactly.
And that's a big change. That's a big difference to just not have that fear of what anybody else thinks why I have this or why I'm carrying this.
And as a parent, you just want your kids to be confident, and because you love them so much, you know their potential, you know how amazing they are, and you just want them to be able to show it and have that confidence.
And we dealt with the whole side of teachers and doctors. The teachers would say he has attention deficit disorder because he's not paying attention. He's doing this instead of doing the work. And they wanted him, like teachers would call his doctor. And the doctor would go, oh, you need to come and see me because the teachers want him on medication. And I would go in and the doctor would almost like threaten me. Like, well, he needs to try ADD medicine. His teachers say it would be good for him. And I'd be like, well, what if I don't want to? And they're like, well, you can choose not to, but we can also report you. So I dealt with that.
Wow.
And then we tried, went along with them, we tried medication. I saw it was terrible for him. It was terrible. So at some point I put my foot down and I was like, because he kept thinking, oh no, this medication's, I need this medication. And I was like, no. And it was medication for attention deficit, not for anxiety.
Yes.
So there's a big difference. When we got to the root of the anxiety, it was he wasn't attentive to certain things because he was afraid he was going to be called on and have to go up to the board and do something. So he'd look inattentive. So he didn't have to do.
Yes.
He wasn't called on, which isn't attention deficit. It's anxiety.
It is anxiety and fear.
So finally, got a different pediatrician in that office who listened to me and said, okay, he doesn't need medication. Listen to the parent,
yes.
And let me figure out how to deal with his anxiety. And once that's what we had to deal with, without medication, and that's and it's made a big difference. And that ADD medicine changes your personality. So we had to go back and go, this is your personality, not on medication.
Right.
We
can't even get into how medication changes us.
Yep.
So, how's your anxiety now, Darius?
It's good.
It's good. I know I love to measure everything. So your anxiety was a 10 before, or 10 being really high. What would you say your anxiety was before, and how did you feel when you thought about going to school before? How did you feel?
I felt good
mm-hmm.
about going to school.
Before, when you had the anxiety, or when you were afraid of kids talking down on you?
Probably.
I can give an example. Well,
Okay,
last night we were,
Um,
Darius has kind of made he's always, this was a big change. He's always controlled his room, which kids like their own space. But he really couldn't handle it if one of the kids went into his space or anything. And it was like over the top. And last night, my Kai, 9-year-old, she was fooling around with him, and she was on his bed and on his space. And he just started laughing about it. And he was just like, okay, Kai, it's time to go. You gotta move.
so your anxiety is a lot lower now. So your home is more harmonious.
Yes. Yeah, it definitely is.
It's a
yes.
lot more harmonious. And you've talked about how Darius now, wanted to wake up at 6 in the morning on the weekends and keep his schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And when he went to orientation in August, he was happy to go to school.
Yes.
He was excited. He didn't feel.
Mm-hmm.
How was it before, and how was it after the session with me?
He definitely didn't have that. He didn't even seem anxious. He would just get up and put his uniform on, and he'd be ready to just ride his bike and head off to school.
And how was it before he saw me?
He would always get up and get ready. That was never a problem. But then when it was time to leave, it's when he stalled. He was kind of like, I want to go, but I don't. I'm afraid of what's going to happen when I get there. I don't want to see, I don't want to see the kids. I just, I don't want to, I want to go, but I can't, I don't think I can do this. I just don't, that's how he would do it. And then he'd kind of reluctantly just leave because he would see the time and he knew the right thing. You have to be in school by a certain time. But then he came to me and he said, I don't know what I'm going to do to myself if I have to go into school with these kids again. And then that's when I said, there's got to be we got to do something now. Because I'd never heard him talk like that.
Yes.
And that's when I said, all right, I need to make changes. And then when I told him we were going to do the online private school, he just gave me a big hug and was just like, thank you. Thank you. Because, and but I knew I had to get to the root of all of it and kind of help him heal.
Yes, and you're so
from
fortunate. You're so fortunate that he spoke up because a lot of kids don't.
Mm-hmm.
And that is very scary to a parent. What was it about me that made you both feel really comfortable about coming to work with me?
I looked up a whole bunch of places. When I read yours, I just had a good feeling about it. I was looking up the testimonials and I was just reading about you and I was just like, Darius, I think this is, I think this is the one. I just felt it from everything I read that I think this would be good for you, but I didn't know whether you took on kids. And that's why I emailed saying, do you work with, a 13-year-old?
Yes.
And I just knew that someone could get through to him on the unconscious level and just help all of this to, help him be more relaxed every day. And it was a good decision.
And confident. Darius, what do you like about working with me?
Mostly just, I like how it helps me more.
So we've had about 4 sessions now, but even after the first session,
there was a huge change.
There
was a huge change. Yep, I just started seeing things melt away. That, every day it was just such a difference, with, when you have somebody who tries to control their whole environment, it's like anxiety or depression that they may not even understand. And it does. It puts your household on alert all the time because you don't know what you're going to deal with. And when that all started just melting away, it was just like, you're laughing and you're happier, and he was able to communicate better with and not just try to control it his way. He could communicate, and it was like just makes everything more harmonious.
Harmonious and peaceful. One of my colleagues who are hypnotherapists don't work with kids. They're very afraid to work with kids. And I absolutely love working with kids because they're so open to change.
I was going to say open.
They're so open to change. They absorb the tools. I give them tools during the session. I give them tools after the session. And they just take it and run. They don't overthink things.
Right.
And in my sessions, there isn't a lot of talk. It's very much, how does that make you feel? And how do we overcome that? And it's very easy. I absolutely love working with kids because they want it so much, and they're not conditioned. How would you describe the program, my program, to anyone who was going to listen, who's stuck and wants their kids to be less anxious and confident and overcome bullying?
I can tell you. So, I try to talk to parents all the time. They're not open to it. So, I run my after school program from my business.
You have a karate studio.
Yep. So what I do with my kids, and especially the ones that I see have a lot of anxiety, a lot of different things who are having problems in school and problems with making friends, in my classes, we do meditation. And so what I have actually done, and we do a lot of visualization, and when these parents see the changes that their kids are making.
Yeah.
Like I have one little boy who the school was trying to kick him out of school. And when I worked with him, not to the extent that you do, but just getting him to learn to meditate and to, stop. I used stop, breathe, and think before he reacts to anything.
Right.
And when the parents see the change, then they come back to me and they want to know what I'm working on. And then they're open to it because they see the only very little bit that I'm doing has changed their child. When their child is saying to them, when they ask them, well, what's the change? You're having great days in school now. He goes, well, I would stop, breathe, and think before I reacted on that or did that. I have kids who couldn't even be in a regular classroom because they were having so many behaviors at school.
Right.
To get them, they're in a regular classroom. And that's coming 5 days a week with us. And just that little meditation. And in the karate studio, we bow to each other just, as at different ranks. I'm a master black belt. And some of the parents would say to us, well, why do they have to bow to you? And I would just explain to them, I go, number one, it's just a sign of respect. We're the teacher.
It is.
I said, but number two, these kids are so fast-paced in this world that it takes them to just slow down for a minute, to put their feet together, their hands to their side, and bow. I said, it slows them down.
Yes.
And they just...
And they're present for a moment.
Yeah.
Because the fast pace is every 3 seconds, we need to switch over to this.
Exactly. And those little things made changes in their life. So
great tools.
Yep. And that little bit isn't even what you do. So then parents, I finally can tell them about the changes that, hypnosis has made in my own kids, in my own life. And they're more open to hearing it.
Reaching the goal, that visualization as an athlete is just as important as physically practicing, if not more. I mean, they're equally as important, but when you can see the end and seeing yourself follow through, that's when, because your mind tells your body what to do.
Right.
Stop breathing.
As simple as that.
And it's such a great tool. They're self-sufficient now.
Mm-hmm.
They're not relying on somebody to tell them what to do, and they're actually stopping and thinking.
Yep.
Yeah. How else would you describe just what I do with your kids, or what I've been able to do with your kids?
Well, they're open to it. So
Yeah.
they don't mind listening to the scripts.
Right.
And so
So they get a recording every night to listen to,
yeah,
and Kai's actually excited to go to
she's
bed.
excited. She loves getting her own recording.
Yes.
And they start seeing the changes in themselves. So she's happy. So when she sees now something else that she's struggling on, then she comes to me and she's like, well, what can I do to help that part that I'm now, struggling with? Is there another recording? Is there something I can work on?
Yeah.
Even my 7-year-old, she loved to go to school. She's extremely social. She's very, 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 very smart. Her vocabulary is bigger than any of my other kids. But she's just struggling with that dyslexia. She realizes, I have these challenges, but these challenges are okay because I have strength in other areas that she's now seeing. She has strength that the other kids may not have strength in that area, and her teacher's listening to her. So she'll say, can I take that test by saying the answers to the teacher? And she gets 100%.
Instead of writing, oh, look at this.
And she
That's
came
so
up with
creative.
that, and her teacher contacted me and said she came up with that on her own.
Yeah.
So she realizes that's what she has to do.
Yeah.
And, and then she's like coming home, like, look at what I did.
Yeah.
And she's just so much more confident.
And that's the comprehension script recording that she was listening to.
Yep.
It's fantastic.
And it's made a big difference.
Yeah.
With her. And that's
those recordings, they go into your subconscious mind. So what we do when we listen to the recordings is we go into alpha state. So when we roll up our eyes, we go into alpha state where the mind is very open to suggestions. And Jose Silva did this with his kids when he was helping them study. He had about 10 kids, but he realized that they were having trouble focusing and absorbing information when they were fully awake. So he would get them a little bit relaxed, get them into alpha state, and then they started thriving in school. Mm-hmm. It's really making a change while your brainwave is in a more receptive state. Yeah. That's the power of the recording. Because when they're trying to listen to it, and then there's all these other distractions, but when you breathe a certain way and you go from beta to alpha and then into theta, everything that you're hearing, you're actually absorbing. Mm-hmm. So our program is we have the sessions. When it's with kids, it's a half hour, 45-minute session. It doesn't need to be, when I work with adults, it's an hour and a half maybe, because there's a lot more to unpack.
Right.
30 minutes, 45-minute sessions in person or over Zoom. And how do you see the kids when they come out of the session? And for anyone who's, what I'm afraid for my child to go in and have an RTT session or a hypnotherapy session. It's just a subconscious session. Yeah. It's just alpha state. So your kids come out.
And they're happy.
And they're happy.
And they love it. They were like, that feels so good. That was great.
Yes.
And I don't even know if they even understand why they feel so good. But they do. They carry that on. They've expressed it to me in the car. And I'll just say, how was it? Darius will go, I feel so good.
Yes.
I just feel so good.
And it's all about the feeling. They don't have to have the most intricate details or words and descriptions. It's we react to what we feel. How we feel are our thoughts and our beliefs. So it's our beliefs which control our thoughts, and then that controls how we feel, and based on that is our actions and then our results on the outside. But we're trying to change all of our results without changing the belief first.
Right.
So getting to the root of the beliefs is what we do in the sessions. And then when they listen to their audio every night, that changes the neural pathways. And that is instilling the confidence, instilling the new beliefs. How would you describe the recordings in one word, maybe, to describe it to a parent? Or, why do they have to listen to these tapes every night? They're 20 minutes, and they go to sleep to them. They don't even have to be awake to listen.
I mean, the one word that comes to me is that it's just inspiring. You may not understand it, but that's the way I see it. They just seem so happier. It's just like they don't even know why. Like Kai's just like skipping out of the session, and just like I feel so good. And to just hear him go, I feel great. I feel really great. Is just so amazing. That's the result you want.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us, Lori Bradlee of Massachusetts, owner of
Silver Street Studio, Karate
Studio, and also and mother of 4.
Yes, well,
mother of 4.
Yep.
Yes.
I have 3 older kids too.
Yes, so mother of 7.
Yep.
4 under 13.
Yes.
And a business, a job, sports, schools, doctors.
Yep, I definitely couldn't have done it if I didn't take care of me.
Exactly, you took care of your anxiety first, and now everyone else is reaping the rewards, and you're able to live a happy, less stressful life.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Yeah,
thank you, Darius. He's been here with us almost the entire time, just so patient. Thank you.